Hi, good morning, or whatever it is, where you are. Welcome to the Good Life Meditation. My name is Kurt. This is my daily routine in the morning to talk about my past day, and namely to measure that day according to my life objectives and principles, which I will then recount categorically, going through each of them just briefly, sometimes longer, sometimes fairly quick, and then plan for the coming day. I'm feeling very good this morning. Even though I didn't get much sleep last night, I did stay up later, much later than usual. I was up till 10 o'clock, and I did have my typical, you know, sleeplessness, pre-dawn sleeplessness, just awake and fussing, not worrying about anything in particular. It's, lately I haven't been thinking about work, just awake and fussing. I have this dream of retiring away back to Japan. Yumiko and I share this dream. It's more of a desperate longing at this point. And it seems to be retreating further and back. I got to make sure that we have to make sure that our daughter's safe and settled after college. We can't just, up and leave her behind and, I think you understand what I mean, right? I mean, we need to see her through college, and we need to make sure she's on her 2 feet before we leave America. That's an important thing to do, and that's going to take time. So, just got to keep that reality in mind, Kurt. Try to live less in the. It's so easy to cross a line from living in the moment of now to living more in the anticipation of another life to live, which is folly, because no life is ever anything other than this life. That's stupid. That didn't come out at all the way I meant to say. What I mean is, every life is hard. Each of the 4 previous lives that Yumiko and I have lived have always seemed like they would be greener grass on the from the life before, and that's never the case. It's different, and it's better by virtue of being a change and a new set of challenges, and a chance to grow and expand, create whole new, periods of life. Yeah, that's good. But it's everything is hard. All right, let's measure the good life. Let's recount the good life. 7 objectives and 30 principles. These are as follows. The first objective is to have my life in a state that I'm always ready to die. My connections, my life affairs, and my life's work, if not complete, at least settled. At least in the best state possible to be brought to an end, and I think they are, all of those things. Number 2 is to make good and effective use of my time, to not burn through my days. Number 3 is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. Good in terms of they facilitate the improvement, facilitate the achievement of my objectives, and sound in that they're not hollow. If you knock on them, they have a solid ring. They're based on truth. Next is the cultivation of good emotional reactions, just to make myself into a man who is not likely to get unduly upset or fly off the handle. One thing I definitely have noticed of late, especially at work, is, boy, I I just don't engage in the emotional side, the negative emotional side of human communications. Um, you know, sometimes humans we devolve in our communication into what might appear like kind of belittling or criticism, belittlement, criticism, gossip about others. I think we do it in some sense to make ourselves feel better. And I see that going on and I just don't participate. I just stay silent. It's an awkward silence sometimes because you feel like I don't feel uncomfortable about it. But I feel like my lack of participation shows. I'm not a team player and picking up a stone and throwing a rock. I'm thinking of like stoning an individual, because that's what gossip sometimes is. Sometimes you dogpile, and you think about an ancient stoning, right, where they decide that this man over here was fetching sticks on the Sabbath. It's time for him to die. Let's all grab a stone. Let's all grab a stone. Finish him off. And I'm not picking up the stone. You kind of stand out. But I guess if you're going to stand out, that's standing out in the best sense possible. Who am I to stone? Next is to perform good actions, just to do good things throughout the day. And then the next objective is to recognize my true limits, my true opportunities. A little hassling. To do just one thing at a time, and to do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. You can tell, boy, I'm tired. I'm asleep. I'm yawning like crazy. More coffee. More coffee. Now my 30 principles as follows. 1. Principle of war. To always be fighting against what I think is true. 2. Principle of reason. And these are principles of honesty, objectivity, and doubt, which are the approach I have towards life, trying to be honest with others and myself, objective in my view of the world and my consideration. And then, if you're a skeptic at all times, Rob, Scott, excuse me, I'm so tired. I'm not ready for this day. Remember I was saying before, I just want to escape away. It's not just because of here, it's also because of here. This body's just, wow, I'm just worn. I'm feeling good. I mean, I'm getting in good shape. Losing weight, feeling good. I have my hernia, but that's not a big deal. I'm going to get surgery for that. I'm still getting in. I'm getting about half the steps I used to get. I'm averaging about 5,000 steps a day rather than 10,000, just because hernia pops out so much. Okay, the next one is to recognize, to do just one thing at a time and to do that thing. No. Homunculus, this is the next principle, which is an idea that I don't have a soul, neither does anybody else. We just have a consciousness, and that consciousness will die with us. And that's when we die. And the next principle is the Anchorhold, the idea that the consciousness is trapped inside of us. And since it has no escape, it's subject to the vicissitudes of life, the weathering. And it's going to fall in the water one day. Because I picture the homunculus standing on a rock in the sea with the waves and the tide and the wind and the rain, and it's slippery too. And you're going in the sea one day, and that's the end of you, the end of me. Okay, and next is purpose. My 3 purpose in life are to be a virtuous human being, to be a good husband and father, be a virtuous human being, where virtue is defined as helping to seek the improvement of the well-being of creatures, particularly thinking creatures, creatures that can suffer pain, and then to share the message of my book, Going Alone, which I'm doing right now. This is what I do by making this video every day. It's my evangelism of the Good Life Creed. Okay, next is atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces, including us, and we're falling to pieces. And then the principle of nature. Everything has some particular nature, then it's good to recognize what that is. If we can see what the nature of things and people are, then we can better abide that and and understand what to expect of them. And then the pirate ride, the proposition that free will is an illusion, a very convincing illusion, but an illusion nonetheless. And then maturity and the sub-principles of wisdom and fortitude. We are mature when we wisely remember our past successes and failures and strive to do better in the future. And then the social principle, we need each other, we human beings, we need our friends and our family and our spouses and our kids, the whole lot. We do better in that way. And then public speaking, the idea that to use few words and carefully chosen words, and to be very deliberate and careful in my utterances and my writing, and to never gossip. And then temperance, the idea of being very careful in my communications. It sounds like, no, that's not right, that's public speaking. Temperance is to be very careful in my consumption of work and play and entertainment and sleep and exercise, everything. Just to do everything in moderation. And then comes the horror show. Terrible things are happening all around us, to people we know, to our pets, to wildlife, and it's happening to us too. If not now, it's coming for us. The horror show is real. Life is a horror show. But I try not to dwell on that fact, but I don't want to forget it either. And then comes the principle called that which must be borne, and what we have to bear is the fact of the horror show, plus the weight of whatever responsibilities we've onboarded in life. For example, I must bear the weight of the responsibility of our daughter to get her safely into adulthood. And it means that I can't pursue my own dream to escape away until that's done. I also have the responsibilities that I have to my wife, and the fact that I wear this ring, and she does the same. The responsibilities to my work, to give an honest day's work, even though I work from home and they can't see what I'm doing. It's still very important to me that I'm at my desk working hard, giving them good value for their payment, all the live long day, swinging that pick, plowing that hoe. Okay, then comes that which must be borne. The Feast of Offal, which is the upset. This is the upset that we show to the world when we're having a bad day or having a bad moment of any sort, and we decide to let the world know about it. It's not a good thing. It soils and hurts other people, and it's not a good thing to make popcorn and indulge in the consumption of the upset of others. It's kind of a voyeuristic thing that we do to, it's a better them than us moment. It's not healthy. I don't do that. I'll stand by in case they need help, and then I'll offer them a tissue and a hand up. But I won't relish, what is it called, Schreuderfragen? What's that word? Relish the suffering of others. Can't pronounce that word. Okay, next is distraction. We spend our lives distracting ourselves with work and play and sports and religion and everything. What are we distracting ourselves from? The emptiness of the universe, which I call the great indifference, which lies in stark contrast to the agency of life. The great indifference is a startling thing. It reminds us that we're alone. It reminds us that God isn't real. So we don't want to see it. So we busy ourselves with all kinds of stuff. That's the distraction. Then comes the best seat in the house, to be okay with who I am, where I am, and what I'm doing. And then the path of wildness, which is an off-ramp from one life onto another life. I can't wait. I'm so desperate. I can see the off-ramp up ahead, but it keeps receding. It's like a desert highway. And a mirage. Can I see the off-ramp up there? To our next life. Maybe our last life in Japan. Us being Yumiko and I. Okay, next comes the risk of avoiding risk. There's the surface level risks of life, of not getting an education or finding a career or settling down with someone, making them your spouse, building a house and building a home and saving for your old age, preparing for your old age. That's one thing to attempt in life, is to secure those things. It's a much more challenging thing to find ourselves, so to speak, as the hippies would say. Find yourself, to have a quest, and to come back with your story, and then to seek after the surface level risks. It's a real neat trick to be able to do both. Some people can do that. I wasn't able to do it. I went rather for the finding oneself risk, and I paid the price in terms of security. That's why I have to work longer. That's okay. It was worthwhile. I don't have any longing for the other thing. The other thing is done. Now I just long for some peace and quiet to enjoy my settled mind. Yeah. Okay, next comes sin and damnation. There are 7 sins in my worldview, and these are falsity, being untrue; credulity, believing things too readily; faith, believing things based on the foundation that we want to believe them; superstition, a nonsense category of belief that have all the characteristics of not being true; dogma, believing things based on tradition and the fact that we have a big book and people believe it, and then that's a big one, that a lot of people believe it, so it must be true. And then authority, believing something based on, because we're impressed by someone who's proposing it as being true, or we're impressed by the authority of the institution, or the funny outfit that the person wears, whatever the case may be, their eloquent speech. None of those are good reasons to believe something. And then finally, gossip, again, the consequence of these sins is damnation in the here and now. Next comes complete oblivion. At the end of life, there's nothing after to follow, apparently. It looks like we're just going to, our atoms will dissolve away and get reused elsewhere in something else. Some of our energy, if we get cremated, will get dissipated into space through heat, light, sound, smoke. Maybe the smoke won't go to space, but you get the idea. And that's the end of us. We won't see our loved ones ever again. We'll never have a chance to make amends, and we won't see justice served. Hitler gets away with his crimes, and Anne Frank will never be avenged. Told you, it's a horror show. Okay, next comes the Great Life Adventure, which is, I smile on my face because I love having the Great Life Adventure. It's one of those, seeking quests by which we find ourselves, so to speak. It's good to have at least one, preferably in our mid to late 20s, after college and before career and family. Okay, next comes the season of philosophy, which is a time to record what we've learned along the way. And then after the season of philosophy comes the bullseye aim, striving to hit the bullseye with our dart, with our throwing axe, with whatever, our report at work, trying to hit the bullseye, trying to schedule a meeting for the team, or execute and hold the perfect business meeting, trying to hit the bullseye, but we usually miss. Sometimes by a little, sometimes by a lot. Sometimes we get it square on, bam. It's pretty rare though. But just remembering that, so that when I do miss the mark, I remember that's to be expected for the most part. To strive for the bullseye, but expect to mostly miss. Next comes the uphill climb, which is a reminder that if I'm sitting too long in this chair, that's too long. I need to get up and climb. If not physically, at least mentally, I need to be pushing myself into new, higher strata, where I can stop and look around and see the view, and above the clouds maybe, looking at the stars, getting closer to the stars nonetheless. It's the upward climb or uphill climb. It's a good way to live. Arena and utility. Life is an arena for the development of our objectives and principles, which we then use towards better living. Nothing is enough. A push beyond temperance in the direction of abstinence even. What a dream. And then lastly, the principle of fun. A reminder to have a good time along the way, in the moment of now, anticipating the future and remembering the past. Okay, so today, that was my Good Life Creed. Today I think I have like 4 or 5 meetings. I have a tricky one at 9 o'clock. I'm getting together with Juan, and he and I are going to try to flesh out some stuff for a 4th project that I'm working on with him and some others. It should be fun. I like having meetings with Juan. So we are kindred spirits when it comes to work. He's just a neat guy too. So I'm looking forward to that meeting. I have a meeting at 10, and then I have some meetings in the afternoon. Altogether, not too bad. And I have to make a tricky decision about a meeting for tomorrow and get a meeting on the books for next week. And then through all of that, just plug, plow, charge forward. And I will. Wish you all the best. Be safe, but not too safe. Take care.